Sorry we had so little time for that. But I'm hoping that we've come up with some ideas and reasons for having an ongoing periodical meeting. And so, for those who are chosen to summarize from the suggested list of questions, who wants to be first?
Number one. Okay, there was a lot of enthusiasm for the last meditation we did. There was a desire for a recording of that. Several people wanted to flesh out their spiritual wills right away. Someone else was going to contact a lawyer, wanted the list of lawyers so that he could do a new will. And there was a question about how to work with secret practices if you also had other people, family, who weren't familiar with them, and you wanted those being done as you were dying. So that was a topic of interest. More on POA, and somebody liked the alertness that meditation on death brought. What was missing? Well, it was just perfect and it was wonderful. So nothing was missing but POA and the list of lawyers, which actually was here, so it wasn't missing. And what do you need to support your efforts? Someone has to find his things. Let's see. And there was a desire to learn more about carrying circles and to form them. Questions about, a desire to have examples of that. Does that include physical care, turning a person, diapering, what kind of lists you might have, and how this all would work. There was a lot of interest in that. Other special topics were more about hospice, the degrees of levels of care, and it would have been good to have examples of wills, simple ones and more complex ones, and how large would a caring circle be within the context of KCC. And that's about as far as we got, or that I recorded. Anyone else from my group want to add anything? Okay.
Thank you.
Our group had practical concerns with assistance in figuring out how to get through the changing medical requirements and the cost of all of that, trying to figure out ways in which to wade through that in the most effective way possible. We had interest in learning more about the 5 invitations, how to respond to people who are frightened and with the process of aging as much as the process of dying itself. Things that were missing, more time in one way, and related to that opportunity for more small group sharing and experiential learnings about the 5 invitations. And the support primarily through information or circles to learn more about how to wade through the challenges of medical care at the end of life.
Thank you, Peter.
Who was this number 3 group? Thank you.
Is it on?
It is. Just hold it
Okay.
close.
Let's see, there were 4 of us. There was a discussion on another kind of workshop that had been held in the Zen community where a lot was made out of Post forms. So we discussed that for a while. We were looking at how can our community help in this process of death and dying. What kind of needs people would have, and if the family would want to be involved. One of the things that people were thinking about was on the forming of circles. We had a lot of discussion about boundary issues and needs for people that you would want to be in your circle. And so one of the conclusions made was that maybe each person would come up with his or her own caring circle. That was one idea. People were very interested in the 5-element practice and wanted more of it. Someone even suggested a 5-day retreat on it. And there was a discussion of the boxes, putting together the boxes. We even joked about having a Dharma box night. So people were interested in what to put in it and realized that each person would have something else, something different. There was even a discussion if there ever were a retreat on death and dying, that maybe people could bring their Dharma boxes to do during the breaks or something. And everybody thought that it was a really good series that we had, and we really appreciated the teachings, and it was just not long enough.
Thank you.
So group number 4 would like to explore more practice and preparation. So that seems a common theme. And maybe some practical ways to support others, like actual, circles of care if someone's ill or dying. So what was missing, maybe it's a cultural influence, but including more beings that aren't present, so invisible beings, in what we consider, and also the idea that we're, from a Buddhist perspective, we're going from one life to another, so is there more we might learn or contemplate or study in that regard? And that also came up later when we asked, the question was asked what special topics or more in-depth information. A similar consideration was what to do if there's fierce deities or things that are frightful. We also talked about all of this as a habit of practice, so appreciating that and maybe considering more. And people, when asked what they want to do in preparation, there's some, one person wants to complete their spiritual will, and 2 or 3 people are getting rid of their own possessions, and that when you think about what is support, there was a feeling that this class has been supportive, and the idea of continuing in some way, and that if a group were formed, or an ongoing endeavor of some kind, people would likely join it. And then a great big shout out and thank you to Julie for doing this class.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Well, great. Sounds like we have grist for milling it more. So actually, we have put something on the calendar for next year, anticipating meetings, and the first one will be Saturday, January 27th. And figuring that most people are going to be occupied with holidays and going to India and things like that over the next couple of months. So January 27th, and then kind of going from there. We have it on the schedule every other month, actually January, February, and then every other month. And we'll just, what you all have offered tonight helps inform what we might think of in terms of agenda and what we want to try and put together. So, shall we dedicate? By this virtue may I quickly realize Mahamudra and establish all beings without exception in this state. Sorry about the time.